the first kind of day of this, so. Now, don't go canceling those t plus 1s now, all right? Because you just put it in there, so don't go canceling. You'll be right back where you started. But they have the same denominator, don't they? So since they have the same denominator, you can combine them by subtracting the numerators. So it'll become t plus 1 minus 1 over t times t plus 1. What does the numerator turn out to be? Because the 1's cancel, right? And you just get a t up there? Any questions on that step? What can you do after the 1's cancel? Cancel the what? The t's will cancel now. So here's what I've got, and I still have the limit. Limit t goes to 0. What's still on the top? You canceled everything. There's a 1. Be careful, okay? The 1 and the negative 1 became a 0. But when you canceled the t's out, it became a 1, right? So you have a 1 over, and then t plus 1. And now let t go to 0. And what do you get? 1. I like it. I like it. All right, we're almost through this section, I think. Oh, no, we still have a lot more. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get to 1.5 today. 26. Let me start 26 this way. It's the limit x approaches -4 square root x squared plus 9 minus 5 over x plus 4. We're going to make this a bonus. I mean, it's not a bonus because it's hard, okay? It's just a bonus because I want to see if you can do it on your own. The back of the book doesn't have the answers to the evens, so I want to see if you can do that. But before I leave you with it, what would you do? Okay, so conjugate, you're thinking conjugate? Yeah, but you always need to check first, though. Plug in -4, right? Make sure you get 0 over 0. Then you'd come in with the conjugate, all right? Turn that in next time for bonus if you'd like. Okay, 28. Limit h goes to 0. 1 over x plus h squared minus 1 over x squared all over h. This one looks scary because it has two variables in it, x and h. But let's just mentally think about this. If h is 0 here, then that's just x squared, isn't it? So you get 1 over x squared minus 1 over x squared, which is what? 0 over, and then the denominator is also 0, so you get 0 over 0. So what you're going to need to do here is get a common denominator up here. That's kind of the trick here. Try and get a common denominator between these two. So what's missing in the first fraction? What do I need to introduce? Like it has an x plus h squared, but I need also a what? An x squared, because the other one has an x squared. So I'm going to do it in blue here. I'm going to put an x squared here and an x squared on top. What does the other fraction need? an x plus h squared and an x plus h squared. Do y'all see what I'm doing? That way both denominators will be identical. What did I do there? I'm not multiplying, I'm adding or subtracting. It comes from the idea, remember with fractions, that if you have like 1/3 minus 2/3, if your denominator is the same, all you do is 1 minus 2 over 3. You keep the same denominator. So I first multiplied x squared top and bottom, and then x plus h squared top and bottom, so that I had the same denominator. This denominator now matches this one, right? So all I'm going to do is take the numerator here and subtract this on this side from it, which is why I get this. The x squared minus, do y'all see that? And then the yellow is just my common denominator. And then don't forget, you still had that was all over h. What are you going to need to do now? Distribute the negative, but before you can distribute the negative, you have to do order of operations. FOIL first. Expand it out. So limit h goes to 0, x squared. Now be careful here. Minus, I'm going to put in parentheses, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. All over my common denominator, all of it over h. So all I did here was took the x plus h squared and FOILed it or expanded it out in my head, and I made sure that this negative sign was in front of everything that expanded out, because that negative sign must distribute through to each of those terms now. Are there any questions on that? You sure? Sure? Okay. Limit h goes to 0. What am I hoping is going to happen at some point here? I'll be able to cancel out something. It's going to be an h, hopefully. Come on. So what did I do on that step? Just distributed the negative sign. That's going to allow me to cancel my x squareds. And why is that a good thing? Because the only two things left in the numerator both have an h in them. And because of that, it's going to cancel with this h. Now, a lot of calculus students, not a lot, but I mean a fair share of calculus students, don't understand why the h up here will cancel here. They just say, okay, yeah, I mean, sure, whatever. But I want to make sure you truly understand what's happening here. So I'm going to put something in here. You see the h on the bottom? I'm going to write it as an h over 1. So you have a fraction over a fraction, don't you? Okay, well, let me write the next line. So I have equals limit, h goes to 0. I had negative 2x h minus h squared over my common denominator, x squared, x plus h squared over, over h over 1. And I think I'll put a very exaggerated division here. Pardon me? The slant. The division, you mean? Well, let me show you on the side why I like to do this. If you go back to, like, at some point you learned division, okay? And you were taught that if you take a over b and divide it by, remember that division symbol? C over d, that's the same as a over b times the reciprocal, isn't it? Remember you flipped the second one over? Well, this is the same as a over b over c over d, isn't it? So what's happened here is to get from here to here, all you have to do is take this bottom one, flip it over, get rid of it. So it's like the bottom fraction flips and comes up. So this h over 1 over here, I'm going to cancel it out, and I'm going to put it next to this as a 1 over h instead of an h over 1. I'm still working. I'm not done yet. Limit. H goes to 0. H comes out, negative 2x minus h over nothing, right? Or, I'm sorry, no, the common denominator. So on this line, all I did was I took the h out of here, brought it out front, and now I think it's clean. You can see this h and this h will cancel out. Is that clean? I mean, I think at this point I'm ready to let h go to 0 now, after I've canceled it. So let me try this. I'm going to no longer have the limit. I'm ready to let h go. So let h become 0. What happens? That h is gone, right? That's 0. Let this h go, it's 0. So what's in the numerator still? Negative 2x. And what's in the denominator? X squared times x squared again, right? But it's multiplication, careful. X to the 4th. And then one of those x's cancels, and you get negative 2 over x cubed. So you actually here get, you don't get a numerical answer. That's because we had a variable in the problem, x. You see what I mean by like algebra? I mean, there's a lot of algebra in this. And it's just the tip of the iceberg here. But you practice it, you know, a little bit at a time. You get comfortable with these problems, we move on, it gets a little harder. No one has a question on this? Since I'm already conceding that I don't think I'm going to get to 1.5, I'd like to show you a problem. It's not in the book. It's a good exercise, so check this one out. Limit, let's say h goes to 0. 1 over the square root of x plus h minus 1 over the square root of x all over h. So first try and just substitute and see what you get.